Resident Evil remakes are rampant in recent times, with multiple remakes being sprinkled between the recent sequels and the DLCs for those sequels. There is one remake that has been on the radar of a decent chunk of the RE community, and that is
Resident Evil.
The original Resident Evil released back in 1996, with a remake in 2002 where it took the original and improved upon it in many ways. The 2002 remake is often regarded as one of the greatest examples of a remake done right, and still to this day it still holds that general consensus, and it is clear to see why. Due to it already having a remake, many think that it shouldn't be remade anytime soon, especially given the extremely positive reception, with an additional remake having the potential to ruin that image if done badly. Of course, the argument is always there that if they were to remake the first game once again and it flopped or wasn't up to par with the original remake, you can always simply play the 2002 version, whether that's the initial release version or one of the ports, but regardless, there is definitely a split in the community as to whether or not this entry should be the next remake. Of course, with any remake comes many intrinsic benefits: graphical upgrades, better voice acting, and in some cases retconning for better synchronization with the future entries in the series. Resident Evils 2 to 4 have been recreated specifically in third person, with Resident Evil 1 being the only entry of the first two trilogies that has not been officially recreated in a third person style. I'm sure many fans would love to experience the mansion in third person, and possibly even first person as well if Capcom were to implement such a mechanic, as we did get a taste of it in RE5's DLC Untold Nightmares, but that of course was not the true experience. While these are good remake additions, I think there is one massive opportunity that Capcom has when remaking this title, and that is creating an quote-unquote Origins remake where they group Resident Evil 0 and 1 together into one collective story. And for those of you who haven't seen or played Resident Evil 0, the events are set right before Resident Evil 1 and literally leads one of the characters straight into the events of Resident Evil 1, that being Rebecca Chambers, the main character of Resident Evil 0 and the side character of the Chris Redfield campaign in Resident Evil 1. With the stories of RE0 and RE1 being so deeply connected and literally just running from one into the other, it opens up a new level of freshness that would be extremely welcome for the original entry. It is clear that the community is happy to see new content in these recent remakes, so long as the original content isn't cut out of the game, and this was evident with the original remake in 2002 where they added a lot of content onto the already existing PS1 version, opposed to the RE3 remake where much of the original's content was cut and the content that was pulled across was modified in a generally more simplified way, which many fans were not happy with. And this once again goes to show how the 2002 remake of the 1996 Resident Evil title is a shining example of how remakes should be done and what the gaming community in general likes to see from a remake, especially when the game that is being remade has a very strong original foundation. As for the general outline of how I would like to see the plot play out, or at least the game's story play out, is to see a bit of interaction at the very beginning between Alpha and Bravo team at the RPD before Rebecca and her team are sent out to investigate, and let the player actually control Rebecca in those areas instead of it just being a cutscene. And then of course the events of Zero would play out, and then there is a bit more character development, overall character building at the RPD, playing as either Jill or Chris, and then the events of RE1 play out as they did in the 2002 version. Of course, they would be able to expand on areas of the mansion, and maybe even create more links to the areas from Zero close enough to the mansion that would make sense, and this will just build that extra bit of immersion between the two stories that are so closely linked. And then the game could also feature 3 scenarios opposed to 2, where you have Chris and Jill scenarios playing out similar to the original, except this time with more involvement from Rebecca in the story, and a unique Rebecca scenario, which will be the only one to experience the events of Zero as you'd expect, and then also experience her perspective of RE1's events. And I think this would help keep that style of the originals, where you have those branching off scenarios while still modernizing it to a point where it makes sense and it's much more engaging to a modern day audience. And I'm sure this would satisfy a lot of fans of Rebecca Chambers as well, by making her more of a prominent role in the RE1 story. And with both of the games sharing so many locations and story beats, I think this would just make a lot of sense for them to go this direction. But of course, as always, do let me know down below how you guys think these stories should be retold. While I can see them recreating both 1 and 0 individually, I think this would be a massive missed opportunity, and something many even wanted from the 2 and 3 remakes, which, while would have made a little less sense to do given how broad their stories are and how the characters don't really cross paths in 2 and 3 respectively, of course, it is understandable given the link between the two pairs of games. Not to mention, many already see the 3 remake as an expansion of RE2's remake. I think for RE0 and RE1, this seamless and cohesive storytelling experience would be a great opportunity to keep resources focused and create a more complete and satisfying package for fans, and once again providing that fresh experience for veterans of the series, as I mentioned earlier in the video. But as always guys, let me know down below what you guys think of combining this quote-unquote origin games package, and whether or not you think it would be a smart decision from Capcom, and I look forward to reading all of your comments. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy, it does help the channel a ton and it is extremely appreciated, and subscribe for a lot more Resident Evil content. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.